Hello and welcome to this really special year-end edition of The Big Fight. Every year at this time, on this episode, we take a look back at some of the most interesting debates that we had on The Big Fight and some of the biggest arguments. And this year, there was a lot to argue about, from gender issues, the fight against sexual harassment and rape, to politics, and of course the rise of the Aam Aadmi Party, Modi versus Rahul. There was lots to talk about, and in the next 1 hour, we're going to be showing you excerpts from some of our more interesting shows. And if you're talking about politics and Modi versus Rahul, one of the arenas where that really played out this year was on Twitter and social media in general. So one of the more interesting debates, and certainly one of the most talked about shows that we did, was about Twitter trends and the battle of the hashtags and things like that. We webcast it live for the Twitter audience, and there was a big debate that was raging online even before the Big Fight actually began. Here are some excerpts. Lots of big fights, but rarely has there been one which has been preceded by a big fight the way it has happened before this one. Because yes, the Twitter wars have been raging, and the Twitter wars have raged even more ever since I announced we're doing a special big fight on the Twitter wars. So yes, it's been a rather exciting couple of days. And we are going to be taking a look at the Twitter wars that have just happened, whether Twitter and Facebook are going to play a major role in the politics of the next year leading up to the general election, and a whole lot more besides.
20th century, Mahatma Gandhi had his own papers, Young India, Harijan and everything, right? That made a huge difference, as a lot of young people sitting here. 21st century has social media, Facebook and Twitter and so on, YouTube. They make a lot of impact. And what they are doing in the last 4 years, I'm very active on Twitter, what they are doing is that they are exposing the emperor with no clothes. You know, we have all studied who is the emperor with no clothes. And in Indian perspective, my view is this whole Congress, the dynasty and the propaganda is emperor with no clothes. And that is what is being exposed by Twitter and Facebook day in and day out. And I think it has pushed them to an extent where they are now indulging in negative campaign, which doesn't help. That's my view.
Can I say one thing which is interesting from my point of view is that ever since I asked for this 2 days ago and said, let's have a debate, let's get the entire Twitter arguments and Twitter wars out there and let's do a debate on it and put it all there. There are a number of people who have been saying, oh, why should we do this? It should not happen. And I know a lot of the people who were coming for the show were told, don't go for this, it should be boycotted. I'm sure you guys have also got a lot of comments. Should this not be discussed then? Should not all views be brought out and debated, including on mainstream media?
But exactly. I would like to add something.
One at a time. Kiran.
The short answer is yes, it should be discussed. But the longer answer is that the reason why people are discouraging, like someone like me, don't go there, particularly to a particular show or a studio, is because is because people have analyzed over the years, last 4 years or 5 years, and they see that there is a, there's some kind of a discredited opinion that's coming from. It's their view, and we have to respect their view. And you probably have to engage more with people to find out why they're.
But even if you believe that, then it makes sense to come and have a conversation as we are doing right now.
That's
fine. We have view express, so you can have a free exchange of views. Actually, what I'm objecting to more, I think, are guests who then got abusive comments and were.
Yes. It's all about credibility.
So that it's really disheartening to see the level at which this discourse is happening.
Right.
So BJP says Pappu, Congress says Feku. I mean, is that what political discourse in this country has come down to? Please, I'm speaking now. Allow me the floor, if you will. That is what is very disheartening to me. And if you look at Twitter, it's not just the Congress, it's not just the BJP, it's everyone is doing it. If the Congress is talking about Narendra Modi's wife, who he's abandoned, the BJP is saying really filthy things as well, which I don't even want to repeat. So I don't think anybody is in a position to really level fingers at each other, because they are both dirty, and if they are going to get dirtier as the election comes forward.
Okay, no. I think, hang on. Can I applaud for once? Now, I want to ask, hang on, I think Seema's touched upon something which I want to put to everyone.
Yes.
Whatever your views may be on who is saying what and which party should be supported and the rest of it, the level at which the discourse is continued, day after day, you'll be accused of taking money, or you'll be called, a pimp, you'll be called
a prostitute.
It's wrong.
All sorts of things, right? On a daily basis. Now, I want to ask from all of you, how do we fix the level of discourse on Twitter?
It's a way you can develop a thick skin when you are in public. If you're not capable of doing it, just go inside. You know, that's as simple as that. When you go to a park, somebody will whistle, somebody will pass a comment. When you're in a bus, you will do it. If you, then no, what I'm saying is it's not okay. What I'm saying is you don't stop going to the park. You don't stop going to the park.
No, I'm
you
sorry.
You deal with it. You complain with somebody, and Twitter, you have a solid control. You block people. You report them for spam. That's it. You take care of it.
No,
Seema?
I'm sorry. That's ridiculous.
You don't introduce a 60
to say that,
you know,
you will go into a park and you'll be whistled at, and that's okay. I'm sorry.
But here at least you have a block.
What are you talking about?
Block them.
You know, in just the last 48 hours, I've been called a chudel, a Dian, a prostitute, and several sluts.
That's wrong.
And various other words which I can't even repeat on a family show. I block all these people 2 minutes back. They're back with a new account. And you're saying that it's okay? It's not okay. It's not okay at all.
Somebody comes and starts questioning, for example, your ethics and integrity. For many people, ethics and integrity are the most important thing that they have. And if you're going on saying, oh, you have been paid for this, you've been paid for that, it's really offensive. And I do agree with Kiran. And I'm saying with Kiran, we have to find an answer for it. I don't know the answer. Let's try and find an answer.
My answer is very simple. I've tweeted for more than 95,000 things. I get abused left and right all the time. But I don't even block most people.
You just ignore
all
them.
You have to do is ignore them. Do not multi-tag. And if your friends are multi-tagging you with such filthy-minded people, you just request them offline that please let me off. And in 2 or 3 days, see, they're attention seekers. The more you give attention, they'll come behind you.
Sanjay, let me come to you, because on the question of abuse, I have to say something that Anand was saying. It's not, yes, there have been a certain set of people who've been behind a lot of the abuse and who've been called trolls. But frankly, Sanjay, some of the stuff that you were saying last week would come into that category. The comments that you were tweeting, for example, about, you know, Narendra Modi's wife. Where is your wife, Mr. Modi, living in misery? Isn't that abusive as well?
Horrible.
Sanjay?
It's shameful.
Let me respond to that. And if the gentleman from the BJP doesn't interrupt, I'll be extremely grateful. First point. What I said was published in articles, is published in articles. It's all over the place. I would like to ask one question. President Bill Clinton of the United States had a relationship with somebody in the White House, almost faced impeachment. Here you're talking about a man who has prime ministerial ambitions, apparently has a wife that he does not even acknowledge.
Apparently.
I don't think we should practice double standards.
Can
okay?
Mr. Jha talk about
No, I'm saying apparently simply because I simply because I don't have the consummate marriage certificate. The second point. Vikram, can I finish? Vikram, can I finish?
But politics apart, there were a number of landmark judgments by the courts as well. Section 377, of course, the right to reject, disqualification of convicted lawmakers, a number of interesting court cases. But the episode that we did, which got us nominated for the Asian Television Awards, was something which we did on the Glivec patent issue. So this was an entire battle between big MNCs and pharma companies and patients, and the debate of whether there is in fact a tussle between patents and patients. As Novartis has been filing for a patent on a particular drug, Supreme Court finally rejected that, and the repercussions of this have been extensive. What this means for affordable medication, and the case itself, what it means for Novartis.
We have since 2002, when we introduced Glivec into this country, have had a very robust patient assistance program where 95% of the patients get it free of cost, and the rest of the 5% get it in a very liberal co-pay program where they pay between 10 to 80 days in a whole year.
Where was the donation program in 2004 when Novartis went to court to shut down the generics? Cipla, Hetero, Ranbaxy, they were all out of the market, there were stockouts, and cancer patients had to approach Lawyers Collective to get legal aid. There was no donation program, and I think the donation program was set up in response to the patent opposition that was filed by Cancer Patient Aid Association.
What are the broader implications of this?
This ruling really shows that India, at least from the Supreme Court's point of view, is against medical innovation. And the second point to what you've been discussing is the argument that this ruling will help to enhance access is phony and actually will hurt patients. Let me talk about that first. The WHO has a list of essential drugs. Almost all of them are off patent right now, or they've never been on patent. And yet those drugs are not being broadly available to the masses in India. From generic companies in India. So I don't really understand the concept of denying patents and providing access. They simply don't go from one to the other.
According to me, the generics are doing their bit and they supply
30% of the world with the cheapest medicines. Cipla supplied what was costing $10,000 to Africa for the AIDS program at $10. The Supreme Court has held what the law in India should be, and this law, if I'm not wrong, is now going to be replicated in several countries of the world because the world is fed up with repeated patents by the foreign companies on the same substance.
The court doesn't seem to understand that innovation, at least in pharmaceuticals, happens incrementally. There are very few eureka moments where all of a sudden a disease is cured overnight. What's interesting about the Gleevec patent is that what was in dispute was a beta crystal reformulation that actually made the product stabler, safer, and more efficient. And for the government not to understand that, I think was very dangerous. It's really going to stifle innovation in India.
Patents are not meant for trivial modifications, and this is not unique to India. I mean, the United States itself, if you look at a case called Pfizer versus Apotex, a very similar ruling prevailed.
I entirely agree with what's being said here, and that patent laws should not be used for evergreening, and they should not be used for, minor tweaking to existing drugs and getting patents against them.
What investment are we talking about? No new antibiotics, no new TB drugs. They won't make the children forms. They choose and cherry pick the diseases for which they are lucrative markets. No matter how many patents we grant them, it's not going to resolve the problem we have in developing countries.
This is not an industry like any other industry where you profit margin. They are of course important because they do have to pay for their research. But at the end of the day, yes, their human lives at stake. And let's in fact get some case studies. I want to go to the audience. I have Vikas out here who's actually dealt with the problem and has seen how a different sort of a drug can make a massive difference.
I've been living with HIV since the last 2 decades. The time when I contracted this disease, at that time it was more like a death sentence with no treatment, or to be effectively saying no affordable treatment in sight. It was courtesy these generics that when my CD4 was just 34, in a normal human being it is 1100. I was taken to the ART clinic and I was given these free medications, and today I'm here sitting with you all. Otherwise I would have been dead 10 years ago. That is for sure. This is just not my story. This is a story of millions, thousands here in Delhi itself, which we come across. The gentleman said here that they have big companies, they make innovations, and they are given credibility for the same across nations and across conferences. How validated are those innovations if they can't reach me? I would have been dead long time back had these generics not been there.